This is Jacob's Algebra, Chapter 11, Lesson 1. This lesson is about fractions, and there's really very little algebra in this section. This is mostly pre-algebra content that you already know. So the big things with this lesson are that when you write a fraction, you can always write an equivalent fraction by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the same number, or by dividing the numerator and the denominator by the same number. The other important thing with a fraction is that the denominator of a fraction can never be 0. So we're going to jump right into the problems. Looking at number 4, which is the number line that's at the top, it says write the coordinate of each lettered point on this number line as a fraction. So I've already drawn the number line and shown the points. So the coordinate for point A, notice that each one of these numbers, like the distance from 0 to 1, is divided into 4 segments. From 1 to 2 is divided into 4 segments. So each one of these little tick marks is 1/4, and the big tick marks are a whole. So the distance from 0 to the third little tick mark for A is 3 of the little segments, so that's 3/4. So A is 3/4. Now let's look at point B. Point B is the first little tick mark after the 2. Each one of those little tick marks is 1/4. So B is 2 and 1/4, or we can write it as 9/4. Either way works. So 2 and 1/4 is the fraction as a mixed number. 9/4 is the fraction as an improper fraction. Now we're going to look at part C. C is all the way over here on the left. You can see the -1. This is one little tick mark to the left, so it's 1/4 to the left. That means it is -1 and a fourth, which is -5/4. And then we're going to look at point D. Point D is the second little tick mark after the number 3. So that means that it is 3 and 2/4. 2/4 is the same as 1/2, so this is 3 and 1/2. Or we can write this as an improper fraction, which would make this 7/2. So that's all that it's looking for part A. They already have a number line there for you. It is labeled with points. You just have to write down what number each point is at. Be careful because the letters are not going to be on the number line in alphabetical order. So make sure that when you give the coordinate for point A, that it's actually point A that you're looking at and not point C. Okay, now number 5 says use a ruler to draw one like the line below. Let each 1/2 centimeter represent 1/7. Well, I did my best freehand ruler thing I could down here, and I went ahead and labeled point A just like they had. Each one of these little tick marks represents 1/7. The big tick marks are a whole. So A is over here at the 6th, 7th point. That's the one that's given. For part A, you're supposed to mark point B at 10/7. Okay, 10/7 is going to be the 10th little tick mark. Remember that each one of these whole numbers represents 7 tick marks. So if I jump from 0 to 1, that's 7 tick marks. 8, 9, 10. This is where point B is. That is 10/7. 10/7 is also 1 and 3/7. Now point C is 17/7. Well, how many holes are in 17/7? So remember, when I jump from 0 to 1, that's 7 little tick marks, so that's 7/7. I jump over to 2, that's 14/7. And now I can go 15, 16, 17/7. So that's where my point C is. 17/7 is the same as 2 and 3/7. And now I need to label point D, which is -4/7. That is 4 of the little tick marks to the left of 0. 1, 2, 3, 4 puts us right here. So that is our point D, -4/7. Now it says find the distance. Oh, I'm actually going to label these also. So this is -4/7. A was 6/7. B is 10/7. C is 17/7. Okay, part D says find the distance between points B and C. Now there's two ways you can do this. One is that you can count. So we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the sevenths. 7 sevenths is 1. So the distance between them is 1. Or you can take the coordinate for point C and subtract the coordinate for point B. 17 sevenths minus 10 sevenths is 7 sevenths. That's 1. So for part D, where it says find the distance between points B and C, the answer is 1. Now part E says find the distance between points D and A. So that's the distance between -4 sevenths and 6 sevenths. You can actually go and count all of these. We know the distance between 6 sevenths and 0 is going to be 6 sevenths. 7, 8, 9, 10 sevenths is going to be the distance between them. The other way that you can find this is to take your larger coordinate, 6 sevenths, and subtract the smaller coordinate, which is -4 sevenths. Remember that when you subtract a negative, that's the same thing as adding. So this is 6 sevenths plus 4 sevenths, and that is 10 sevenths. Okay, part F, we switch gears, and it says find the coordinate of the point midway between points A and B. So points A and B are at 6 sevenths and 10 sevenths. If you look here, you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 tick marks between them. And to get the point that's exactly in the middle, we need to go 2 tick marks from either one. And that's going to land us right here at 8 sevenths. The other way that you can get this, aside from looking on a number line, is you can subtract the smaller value from the larger one. So we would do 10 sevenths minus 6 sevenths. That will give us 4 sevenths. Then we need to cut that in half. When we cut that in half, we get 2 sevenths. And then you either add that to your lower number, 6 sevenths plus 2 sevenths is 8 sevenths, or you subtract it from your larger number. 10 sevenths minus 2 sevenths is 8 sevenths. Okay, then part G, I'm going to move over here for that one, is to find the coordinates of the point midway between points D and A. Okay, D is at -4 sevenths, A is at 6 sevenths. We already found the distance between them was 10 sevenths. That was for part E. So what's half of the distance? If the distance between them is 10 sevenths, half of the distance is 5 sevenths. So now I either add 5 sevenths to -4 sevenths, or I subtract it from 6 sevenths. So I am going to add the distance to -4 sevenths, and that will give me 1 seventh. So 1 seventh right here is midway between points D and A. Okay, now we're going to move on to, that was numbers 4 and 5, which are like numbers 15 and 16 that were assigned as homework. So now we're going to look at number 6. Number 6 says, express each of the following fractions in decimal form, correct to the nearest hundredth. That correct to the nearest hundredth means whatever you get for your answer, you need to round it to 2 decimal places. So we're going to look first at part A, which is 3/4. 3/4 is one that you can probably just do in your head. When you think about fourths, you think about quarters. And how much are 3/4 worth? 3/4 are worth 75 cents. So this is 0.75. Mathematically, you can do it by taking your 4 and dividing it into 3.000. Do 3 decimal places when you're doing your division so that you can round it to 2 decimal places. Copy your decimal above. 4 goes into 30 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Subtract that from 30 and we get 2. Carry down our 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. There's no remainder, so it is just 0.75 and we don't have to do any rounding. Part B is 21/28. Now before you start doing a complicated division problem, check to see if you have a fraction that you can reduce. When you look at it, these are both multiples of 7. 21 is 7 times 3. 28 is 7 times 4. We can divide the top and the bottom by 7 and we end up with 3/4. Well, we already did that. We know that 3/4 is 0.75, so we can just write the answer. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is part C, which is 1/6. Okay, there's no shortcut on this one. We're going to have to divide 6 into 1. Remember, the number that's on bottom goes on the outside. The number that's on top is what you're dividing into. So I'm going to give us 3 decimal places. Copy my decimal above. 6 goes into 10 just one time. 1 times 6 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. We carry down a 0. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Do our subtraction. We get 4. We carry down a 0. And we know again that 6 times 6 is going to be 36. And this will carry on with 6's for the end of time. Now we need to round to the 100th place. That means we round to this decimal place right here. And when we do that, we will get 0.17. And this is actually an about. So I'm going to change that into the about symbol rather than our equals. Okay, let's do one more part from number 6. Let's look at 6D. Here we have 13/78. That looks like a really nasty problem. But think about it, they're probably not going to give you something that evil. So is it possible that this is a fraction that can be reduced? 13's only factors are 1 and 13. So let's see if 13 actually goes into 78. It actually does. 78 is 13 times 6. So we're going to rewrite 78 as 13 times 6. We can divide the top and the bottom by 13. And so our fraction is 1/6. And guess what? We already did that problem. So we know that our answer is about 0.17. Okay, so that was number 6, which is just like number 17 that I assigned as homework. But I cut you down to only 5 parts instead of 10 because I thought that was a bit too much. Okay, so next we're going to look at number 7. Number 7 says, between which integers do the following fractions lie? So we're going to start with part C, which is -8/9. Well, if you're looking on a number line, -8/9 is between -1 and 0. It's smaller than -1. I'm sorry, it's bigger than -1 and it's smaller than 0. It's bigger than -1 because it's closer to 0 than -1 is. So your answer for part C would be -1, 0. For part D, we have -9/8. -9/8 is -1 and an eighth. That's going to be between -2 and -1 on a number line. It might help you for the negative numbers to actually have a number line in front of you. You can look at the number lines that are in your book actually for problem number 5 or problem number 16 and take a look at that to kind of give you an idea of where it's going to fall. Okay, part E is 111ths. Now it's going to be helpful to think about how many times can 11 go into 100. If we write this as a mixed number, it's a much easier problem. So 111ths is going to be 9 and 1/11, because 9 times 11 is 99, and then one more makes 100. Since it is 9 and 1/11, that means it's going to be between 9 and 10. Part F is 1000/11. Well, look at this. Our number on top is just multiplied by 10, which means that our 11 ought to go in it 10 times as many times. So it ought to go in 90 times. 90 times 11 is 990. And so that means there's going to be 10 left over to get to 1,000. So it's going to be 90 and 10/11. Now it's easy to see that this is between 90 and 91. So when you have a problem like this where you're asked between which integers a fraction will lie, convert that fraction into mixed form. Once you put it in mixed form, it's usually pretty easy to tell which 2 integers it's between. The ones that are tricky for that are your negative numbers. So for those, it might be helpful to have a number line. But that was number 7, which is just like number 18 that I assigned for homework. And that's where I'm going to stop on this video. I will carry on starting with number 8 in the next video.